I never used to be afraid of the dark. It changed the winter. I took the night shift. Job down at the freight yard, just outside Baltimore. I wasn't exactly thrilled to be working alone overnight in a warehouse full of shipping containers and industrial noise. But money's tight. When you're trying to keep your apartment and still help your mom with her meds. She had a bad stroke last year, and Medicaid doesn't cover nearly enough. So when my buddy Mark told me about the position night watch, decent pay, barely any real work, I took it without asking too many questions. It wasn't sketchy, not really. The dockyard's owned by a third-party logistics company. Nothing shady on paper. But something about the place always felt off. There were cameras everywhere, and yet half the monitors in the little security room were dead screens. My boss Joe said they weren't in the budget to fix. The crew that loaded and unloaded during the day were long gone by the time I clocked in at 7 p.m. Just me, some floodlights, and row after row of containers that creaked like they were breathing when the wind picked up off the bay. My first week was fine. Boring even. I brought a thermos of black coffee and a book I never really read and sat in that dusty little shack watching the monitors, listening to the hum of the space heater, trying to keep up with the freezing air. Every hour or so I'd do a round walk. The perimeter, check locks, wave my flashlight into a few dark corners for good measure. Second week, things started getting weird. It was maybe 1:15 a.m. Just me and the sound of gulls echoing off metal when I noticed one of the monitors flicker. Only for a second, but enough for me to look. It was the camera facing the back lot. More containers, nothing special, but something about the angle was different. It wasn't that the camera moved. It was more like something was closer to it, blocking part of the shot. I got up and stared harder. Then it blinked out again. I chalked it up to old wiring and went back to my chair. Next night, same time. Same screen, flicker. But this time I saw it. A figure. Looked like a man standing near container C-48. I stared, not blinking, but it was gone before I could even register what I was seeing. When I went out there with my flashlight, I found nothing but wet ground and tire tracks. I told myself it was nothing. Cold makes shadows look like people. Maybe someone passing through. I didn't report it. Didn't want to look jumpy. But the next night, that's when it got bad. I was halfway through my coffee when I heard a sound I couldn't explain, like dragging metal, not crashing, more like something being pulled slowly across gravel. I turned down the heater to make sure I wasn't hearing things. There it was again, long. Scraping distant, from the east side near the older units. They don't use anymore. I got the keys and went out, radio on my belt flashlight, in my grip so tight it hurt. The cold bit through my gloves. My boots crunched over frost-covered gravel as I crossed into the dimmer-lit zone where the old containers sat, like forgotten tombstones. I kept thinking, maybe a raccoon knocked something over, or some late shipment. Crew was messing around. But the lot was empty. Or so I thought. I walked between two long rows and paused. My light bounced off something on the ground. A metal cart. One of the rolling ones we used to haul pallets. Just sitting there, tipped over. Not a raccoon thing. I bent to examine it, and then I heard breathing. Right behind me. Not the wind. Not my imagination. I turned fast, swinging the flashlight like a bat. My breath already catching in my throat. Nothing. Just the dark between containers. But I swear on everything I heard it. Slow, wet breathing like someone who'd been running too hard and couldn't quite catch their air. I stood there completely still, scanning every corner of the path behind me, waiting to see someone bolt or shuffle or even flinch. But it was just shadows and the hum of the distant generators. I backed away slowly, keeping my light aimed in the same direction. I didn't want to run. Not yet. Running felt like giving in. Like it would make whoever or whatever was there think I was prey. I didn't tell Joe the next day. What would I say? Hey, the air behind me sounded too human last night. He'd laugh me right out of the security shack and dock my pay for wasting time. So I kept coming back, kept working the shift. But I was different now. Always looking over my shoulder, jumping at the buzz of the lights overhead. Every flicker of a shadow dragging my stomach into my shoes. The yard wasn't quiet anymore. It was waiting. One night, maybe a week later, I stepped out for my first patrol and found a glove on the ground, just outside the shack. Leather torn at the thumb. Not mine. Not company issued either. It hadn't been there the night before I picked it up with a pencil and dropped it into the trash bin. Didn't think much of it until I saw the second one. Inside on the desk, next to my coffee thermos. That one was folded neatly. The thumb wasn't torn. That was the first time I locked the door from the inside. Around 3 a.m., the static started again. First one screen, then two, then all of them. I tried hitting the reset. Nothing. Just white noise and flickers. But in those flickers, I started seeing him. A face half lit, mouth slightly open. Always different. Cameras never in focus. Just flashes. I grabbed my phone and opened the camera app, trying to snap pictures of the monitor when the image came up. But every time I clicked the shutter, it was gone. Either I was losing it, or someone was playing games. Either way, I had to finish the shift. I kept thinking, just make it to 5. Punch out. Get the hell home. I never made it to 5. Around 4:10 a.m., the door rattled. I jolted up so fast I knocked my chair over. The door handle didn't turn, but it jiggled fast, erratic. Like someone trying every possible combination to get it open without making a lot of noise. Then it stopped. I waited in silence, counting the seconds. 10:15. Nothing. Then a tap on the window. Not a knock. A single soft tap. I turned and saw a figure standing just outside, still facing me. He was wearing a hoodie, hands at his sides. I couldn't make out his face. It was shadowed low under the hood, but I could see his mouth, barely parted, breathing slow. I didn't move, didn't blink. I watched as his head tilted. Not quick, not cartoonish. Just slightly sideways, like a dog listening to a sound it didn't recognize. Then he pointed, one finger slowly right at me. I backed away, grabbed the emergency phone on the wall. Deadline. I turned back to the window, and he was gone. I waited in that shack for 20 minutes, heart pounding so hard I thought it might blow my ribs open. When the morning shift truck finally rolled into the yard, and I saw those headlights sweep across the fence, I nearly cried. Joe got out and waved, laughing about the cold. I didn't even wait. I ran to him, shoved past, and got in my car. I didn't come back for my last paycheck. I didn't answer when they called. I left town 2 weeks later and moved in with my cousin in Pittsburgh. Took a job at a bakery. No nights, no fences, no cameras. Sometimes I still dream about that tap on the window. Sometimes I wonder if the face I saw in the monitors was real, if he was just some drifter, or if he was there for me. I never found out, and I'm not sure I want to. I used to work the overnight shift at a 24-hour self-storage facility just outside Phoenix. Kind of a strange job, especially for someone in their early 20s, but it was quiet, paid better than fast food, and gave me time to study for classes during the downtime. Most nights were uneventful. Just the hum of security monitors, the occasional tenant unlocking a unit at some ungodly hour, and me sipping cheap coffee behind bulletproof glass. The job was simple. Monitor cameras log any visitor's check IDs if someone wanted access and make rounds every couple hours. There were nearly 400 units spread across a few buildings, but I only ever saw maybe a dozen people come through on a busy night. It was boring work until it wasn't. There's a weird kind of peace that comes from being surrounded by silence and fluorescent lighting. You start to trust the monotony. You start to think nothing could happen because nothing ever does. That kind of routine plays tricks on your gut, makes you ignore the hairs that rise up on the back of your neck. I remember the first time I saw the guy. He came in just past midnight, the kind of time when even the weirdos start to fade. Tall, thin, maybe mid-30s, tan Carhartt jacket, backwards baseball cap, wiry little goatee. He didn't say much, just handed me his ID and asked for access to Unit 209. I checked the system. The name matched. He'd rented the unit a few weeks back. All seemed normal. I buzzed the gate. He nodded once and disappeared into the rows of corrugated metal doors. What stood out wasn't what he said. It was how he moved quick and focused, like he was afraid someone might be watching. But hey, people use these places for all kinds of things. Storing tools, side hustles, private stuff. They don't want in the house. I shrugged it off. He came back the next night, and the next. Always around the same time, always alone, and always to Unit 209. A week or so in curiosity got the better of me. During my 2 a.m. rounds, I passed by his unit. The overhead lights in that aisle were flickering like something out of a horror movie. And the weird part, I could hear him inside, whispers one-sided conversation. The kind of low, desperate talking you do when you're pleading or praying. I paused a few feet away, listening, trying not to breathe too loud. No, I told you, it's fine. I brought more, stop asking. It's not your turn? The hair on my arms stood straight up. I tapped lightly on the metal door. The talking stopped. Dead silence. I waited. Then from the other side, private unit. Back off. I didn't answer. Just kept walking like I was doing my usual rounds. I didn't report it. Honestly, what could I say? A guy renting a storage unit is talking to himself. That's not against the rules. Maybe he was just unwell or high or both. But something felt off, and I couldn't shake it. A few nights later, was sitting in the office, watching the monitor sipping from a cup of instant ramen. Everything was still dead quiet. Then I saw movement on the screen, covering Building B right where Unit 209 was. I leaned in. The guy was back. No surprise there, but this time he wasn't alone. There was someone else, couldn't tell if it was a man or woman, from the grainy feed standing near the back of the unit, just barely visible as the door rolled shut behind them. It was fast, like he yanked them in. My stomach dropped. I grabbed the flashlight and keys. I didn't think. I just went by the time I made it down the corridor. The door was closed and locked, like nothing had happened. No noise, no shouting, just the buzzing of that one bad light overhead. My hand hovered over the lock. Technically, I had the master key. I could open it, but opening someone's private unit without cause, that was a lawsuit, waiting to happen. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling I'd just seen something I wasn't supposed to. I stood there like an idiot for probably a full minute listening. Nothing. I went back to the office and rewound the footage, frame by frame. The second figure was there, no doubt about it. Shorter, hunched, wearing what looked like a hoodie, and the way he pulled them in fast, like it was rehearsed, like he was used to doing it. My hands were shaking. I don't know if it was fear or adrenaline, but either way, I knew I had to call someone. So I dialed the non-emergency police line. They sent someone out in about 20 minutes, a single patrol car. One officer, middle-aged, looked half asleep. I explained what I saw, showed him the footage. He nodded slowly but didn't look convinced. "You said he's a tenant?" he asked. "Yeah, Unit 209. He knocked once, then again. Nothing. Eventually he shrugged, said they couldn't open it without a warrant or probable cause, and a blurry video wasn't enough. Said to call back if I saw anything more concrete. He left. The guy didn't come back the next night, or the next. A week passed. His unit remained untouched, and just when I thought maybe he'd vanished for good, I came in for my shift and saw it. Unit 209, lock cut, door halfway open. It wasn't our doing. We don't cut locks unless someone's behind on payments. This guy wasn't. I grabbed my flashlight and walked over. Inside the place was nearly empty. Just a folding chair, a couple black duffel bags, and a plastic tarp rolled up in the corner. The whole unit smelled faintly of bleach and something else, something metallic like pennies. I didn't touch anything. I just stood there, cold, creeping up my back. Even in the Arizona night. I reported it to the day manager. They called the police again. This time, they came in full force. Forensics tape, the whole deal. Never told us what they found. The next week, a new lock was on the door. No tenant info in the system. Unit 209 was listed as out of service. I transferred out of that job. Not long after, I still work. Nights, different kind of work. Safer, but sometimes I dream about that hallway, that flickering light, that voice on the other side of the door. And the part that messes with me most, they never found out who the second person was, or if they ever left.
If these stories sent a chill down your spine, go ahead and tap that like button and subscribe for more eerie tales. What would you do if you were caught in one of these unsettling situations? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to hear what's on your mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.